Hello, my name is Hilda Hidalgo and this is my colleague Abigail Carretero, and we are presenting our research project called Using Genre Analysis to Address Transnational Students' Academic Writing Difficulties. Two topics are central to our research, transnationalism and genre analysis. I'm going to explain what transnationalism is. Tazelowski uses the adjective transnational to describe students who have moved from Mexico to the USA and back to Mexico, as well as those who were born and schooled in the USA and now live and go to school in Mexico. Similarly, Haman, Zuniga, and Garcia say that transnational students are students who look Mexican in appearance, whose parents may be Mexican, but may not be fully proficient in Spanish. However, Sanchez and Sun suggest that transnationalism goes beyond living in two countries, and they say that it involves activities that include maintaining family ties in multiple countries, possible visits to the sending country, and so on. So we draw on this last definition of transnationalism. Regarding genre analysis, as you may know, this approach has been used extensively to teach academic writing, and it has been proved to be very efficient since Swell's CARS model appeared, because it has been used in diverse genres to teach diverse genres and in different languages. As Tardy suggests, genre analysis has evolved and has become a tool to raise students' awareness of the rhetorical structure of text. That is, students become aware of not just the form, but also of the function of text. Regarding the genres pedagogies, Tardy claims that there is no single genre pedagogy in writing and language instruction. Rather, multiple pedagogical approaches draw on the notion of genre. That is, in this particular study that we're presenting today, we adopted a revised version of the genre pedagogy suggested by Tardy that I'm going to explain later. So for students, genre offers a lens of frame for understanding what makes writing effective in different situations and contexts. That is why we believe in this approach, and we decided to bring together these two theories, transnationalism and genre analysis, to help transnational students work with their writing, so to improve their difficulties. So I'm just going to contextualize a little bit, but this is not what we are presenting today. We adopted Tardy's genre pedagogy, as I said earlier, to conduct an intervention with transnational students to teach them how to write an introduction to a research paper. Okay, so these are some of the steps that we followed during this intervention that lasted for 10 weeks. So the purpose of this study, that is part of a larger study, is to describe the challenges transnational students have faced when writing in English in the USA or Canada, their writing practices in Mexico, and their writing experiences in writing in English in a BA in ELT program in Mexico. Previous studies have addressed students' linguistic difficulties regarding the use of English and language, the use of English and Spanish, sorry. For example, Crawford, Moore, and Lehelin in 2018 conducted a qualitative study with BA students, and they conducted interviews to explore transnational writing, to explore transnational students' writing identity formation when writing in English and in Spanish. And they found that these students' experiences are traumatic. On the other hand, Paniat and Zuniga, 2016, also conducted a qualitative study. They employed in-depth interviews, semi-structured interviews, and they also administered writing and reading tests to students, to transnational students. But they focus on what is called seasonal migratory circulation between Mexico and the USA. This means that students spend some time in the USA and some time in Mexico. But they also found that these children face a linguistic disruption. That's the term they use to characterize these challenges the students go through when writing in both languages. And finally, Bazan and Galvan also conducted an exploratory study with 30 students from Morelos in middle school. They included two principals, two social workers, and a school teacher. And the purpose of the study was to identify the difficulties that these students face as a result of this transition from one country to another. So they found that students struggle the most with the subjects Spanish and history, because students may know Spanish. It may be the language that is used at home in the USA, but they haven't been immersed in this academic language that is needed for school. So we are drawing on these previous studies, but as I said, we decided to add this genre analysis approach to teach transnational students how to write academic papers. In terms of our methodology, this is a qualitative study. As I said, this is part of a larger study. And today we're just presenting the results of the first stage that has to do with the interviews. So it's kind of, we adopted an action research design because we designed this intervention, as I mentioned, to help students overcome the difficulties that they have faced with academic writing. And our participants were 7 transnational students. 6 of them either were born in the USA or have lived in the USA, and 1 from Canada. Of course, we asked for permission, and they granted they signed a consent form, and we have used several data sources, such as semi-structured interviews, a focus group, and we have also analyzed students' texts. These instruments were analyzed by means of content analysis, but as I said, today we are just presenting the results of the first stage that has to do with the semi-structured interviews. And my colleague Abigail is going to explain or to share with you the results and the conclusions of our study.
Thank you, Dr. Hilda. Okay, I'm going to present the results. And here we have the first one. Writing in English in the United States and Canada was easy for participants. Now I'm going to present 3 important reasons that students highlight in this study for them to show why it was easy for them to write. Well, the first reason is that students used to write a lot in their classes in the United States, as shown below. Here we have Jose. Jose mentioned that he says, we had a class, in fact, that of language development. They made us write a lot every day. We had to do an essay. And Gabi says, in the class we were always writing. There was not a day that we didn't write. So here we have these excerpts that are showing that they were practicing the writing. Okay, the second important reason is that instructors provided them with examples and the structure of the text they were asked to produce. Jose mentions they explained us the introductory paragraph, 3 of the body, you can say, and the conclusion where you had to summarize everything you've talked about. And that was simply the strategy of any topic. Also, Gabi says, in the class, we were always writing. There was not a day, it was a full essay. It had its own structure and it was all specific depending on the type of writing. And here we can see that they had this important structure that they needed for them to feel comfortable at writing. And the third reason that they mentioned is that instructors provided them with feedback. which also contributed to facilitate their writing journey. And here Gabby is sharing. We were just asked to write the essays, and the teacher was always giving us a lot of feedback. Susanna says, we made like a draft and they checked it over and over again until we had everything with all the corrections. Then we could write our final paper. So here we have the three main reasons that they shared, saying why it was easy for them to write. Okay, now here we have the second important finding, which is writing difficulties in Spanish in Mexico. Well, students used to speak the language at home with their parents, as we heard before with Dr. Hilda, but most of them had never written anything in Spanish before coming to Mexico. Laura is sharing. The truth is that I didn't know how to write very well in Spanish either. I knew the basics. So when I arrived here in Mexico, it was very difficult for me to write, and only with the teacher. Everything was with him. And the truth is that it was very difficult for me. Emma is saying something similar. She says, well, when I returned to Mexico to attend the 5th grade primary school, and well, the shock, the contrast was very, very different. Very, very different. I had never written in Spanish. And well, here when I had to write, no, the teacher didn't understand me. So Aguilar and Jacobo and Nelson, Herrera, and Cepeda, these scholars, say that students do not have the linguistic skills to understand a class taught in Spanish. Then we found that writing in English in Mexico was not as easy as when they were writing in English in the United States or Canada. The first reason that the students mention is that grammar is emphasized in their literacy classes in Mexico, unlike the United States and Canada. The way they teach, Jose mentions, here is with much grammar. Like that, no, it doesn't happen that much over there. What they want is for you to communicate well. And Laura is saying, for example, what is in writing is related more to grammar. My classmates were taught English based on grammar. And then the second reason, talking about writing in English here back in Mexico, is the lack of writing practice in English. Once they returned to Mexico, made them lose that practice they had acquired in the United States and Canada. Gabby says, I stopped practicing, and here in high school where I was practicing a lot, so I was pretty good but because of not practicing them much, I just lost it. And I could say that just keeping my ideas clear is what I struggle the most with it right now. And Susanna is sharing a lot of time with writing. When I was in the United States, I used to write a lot. When I got here, they wouldn't make me write a lot like I used to in the United States. So I lost practice. And then the last finding that we want to share is that students now they are writing, or they were writing in English in the BA program. In this BA, they had to write, or they have to write academic essays or writings. And here we have the first reason. Well, what they are sharing is that students admit that they have difficulties with organizing their ideas and expressing them. Luisa says, I can get like more ideas or get more involved with the topic, and then after that I have to think again of how I am going to structure it, because I really struggle a lot of how to place each one of my points, and then I start writing. They're really struggling now that they have to write again in English, but now it is an academic writing. It is different than when they were writing in the United States or Canada. And Gabby is sharing, right now we struggle the most with fragments, I could say, because I have a clear idea, but I don't know how to express it. And I think I lost the hang of it. And then the second important aspect is that they also highlight the role of grammar as one of the main aspects that need to master when writing a text in English. Emma says the first semesters here in the degree teachers did talk about grammar rules and everything. And I really had no idea what those were, how to do it. I just guided myself by how it sounded and I said, no, if this has consistency, this is the right one. The truth is that I do not do this grammatically correct, and that keeps happening to me right now. And I know what it is an area in which I am very, very weak. Okay, well, that's something that students are highlight the role of grammar. And then the last important aspect that they mention is that writing is based on the book mainly. Susanna shares, when we write something in English class, we focus in the book and what it tells us to do. So, for example, my classmates, we have like the same way of doing it, and I think it's similar. Aguilar and Jacobo, they mention or they point out that some aspects that characterize both systems and the use of textbooks. Well, now as we can see the results, here we have the conclusions, and we can conclude that transnational students do not just transit from one country to another, but also from one school system to another. That entails some linguistic difficulties for them in terms of their writing practices. They stress that it seems that teachers in Mexico place a great deal of importance on grammar, which is a practice they were not used to when writing in the United States and Canada. And finally, we conclude that they also acknowledge that writing as such is not a common practice in Mexico. Well, this is the reference, the list of reference that we have, and also our emails if you want to ask us something or made a comment. Here we are, and we'll be uh, just happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.